We have my friend Bailey here. She's
Hey.
been so kind to come. And so when I was thinking about Bailey, Bailey is a teacher. And so my question is, what has been a recent good moment as a teacher? Because during COVID, I've heard from quite a few teachers about some struggles. I want to celebrate what's been a good moment for Bailey as a teacher.
I definitely have an excellent class this year. And it's hard to say from year to year how that's going to go. And it's not, every kid individually is awesome. And I believe that wholeheartedly. But sometimes when you put them in a group, the dynamic shifts. So
Right.
last year I had kind of a hard dynamic and it made it a little tough. But we made it through. And again, I had some just superstar, rock star kids last year. It was just who they were with that made it more difficult. But this year, the dynamic is very good. I think kids also have experienced like no school for so long, they're thrilled to be there. So sometimes that can cause like some big energy in the room, but at the same time, I'm thankful too. So I'm glad we're all together. I think some good experiences I've had is, and especially like as I think about my job as a teacher, a lot of people like, oh, that's so admirable. Oh, that's so good. No, I was like called to do it. You know, I don't think you wake up and decide you're a teacher. The pay's not good, the hours aren't good. It's tough. So I think it's definitely a call and it's a joy. But I just, in the most recent, the way the Lord has showed me in my calling that I'm serving Him, I have this group of 5 girls that are just precious, and most of them are new to Lago. And so I've been able to connect their parents, and these little girls, although they're new, have been able to find friends.
What has been the most difficult aspect of being a teacher during COVID?
I would say, so I was taught to teach kids in groups, and it's very like functional, and we have conversation and we share. We even there are like whole studies on like partner time and your process rather than your answer, and you process together, and the research is good, and
Okay.
it's I would say it's proven. A lot of people will say like, oh, new math, or and it's true, it is new and it's hard, but what it was designed to do is to get kids to process rather than just say an answer.
Okay.
So what's tricky is now we have kids in desks 6 feet apart with masks on. So I noticed even after like a month of school, kids didn't know the kids behind them.
Okay.
And it was funny that they'd come to tattle on someone and be like, that guy, and rather than saying the child's name. And so these kids, they're getting recess time, and I do my best to kind of have conversations among the class, and kind of we always do in the mornings, we do a morning meeting, and it's more so of just to like take the temperature of the kids. Like we do a check-in, and you give me like a thumbs up if you're good, a thumbs in the middle if you've had a tough morning, and a thumbs down if you're like, Miss Atkins, I'm not having it today.
Okay.
And so that kind of gives me an idea, and then we I don't know if you're familiar with the Bobby Bones radio show.
No.
They always say, tell me something good. So I always sing that, and then the kids raise their hand. They love to tell me something good.
Okay.
And so it could be anything. And it is as big as like, hey, we're going to the beach this weekend, or as small as like, my mom bought me a candy bar yesterday, and they just love that. So there's some of that, but it's not like it was in years past. And it's hard because that is the way I learned to teach, was in groups and tables and share time in partner. We used to do knee to knee partner. They'd turn around and sit cross-legged knee to knee, and they'd share. Like, that's not 6 feet. So that's kind of the most difficult part for me, is because I want kids to build relationships and build processing skills with other people. But when you're 6 feet apart at a desk and you're not really allowed to move around like we used to, they're missing some of that. Now, I will say, on the flip side, they're gaining some other things. I think it's a little more structured. I kind of function in organized chaos with kids because I prefer them to have some more freedom and flexibility, because I'm kind of like that. I don't always function with people telling me what to do. So I like that. But at the same time, I've learned for me, it's given me a little more discipline for them and a little more structure. And I think that's a positive. So while I don't love it, I've been able to pull some good things out of it too.
Okay, so let me flip gears.
Okay.
You are a believer in Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so with that being said, church dynamics for a young, single, professional woman, is there anything you'd like to share with me about what you're experiencing or have experienced in church that might help someone?
Sure. I think I've experienced both very positive things from being a young single woman in church. I've also experienced some negative things. I would say something that I've come across, and it's not everybody, and of course we know that the church is made up of humans.
Okay.
So I know even in my own singleness, I've thrown up walls or been bitter or had my own stuff to work through that have sometimes made me see things through a different perspective that might not be accurate. It was just my perspective and assumption. Okay. But at the same time, I have experienced true blue, like, wow, like that's what you think of single people? And again, it's because the church is full of humans, but I think some negative things I've experienced, and it's different in a small town, which is where I'm from. Kind of like with me being single, it was kind of always assumed that I could help with like kids club, nursery, whatever it was, because my schedule as a single person was clear. Mm-hmm. And I'll just be honest, I don't keep busy, I stay busy. I don't find stuff to do finds me, and I do it. And okay. And in some ways that's negative, and in some ways like that's really good. I think it's good to keep moving and doing your thing, but I think it was hard, that assumption of like, oh, she's free because she's not married or doesn't have kids. And I'll be honest, it did build some bitterness for a little bit. I had an amazing pastor back home in Missouri, and we talked about that, and he was like, me and my wife need to know how we can better serve the single people in our church. And that really like released that bitterness for me of like, oh, like that person that assumed that was just assuming, and it wasn't intentional to make me feel any type of way. Okay. And then just them seeing that and like helping me walk through that kind of gave me a more positive perspective in the way that there's joy in singleness, and you can, for example, I saw a precious lady today with a baby strapped on her. Okay. And normally that stirs up feelings of like jealousy or like, that's so precious, I wish that was me. Man, today she was rubbing her back, like she was sore carrying that baby. And I thought, I'm so blessed that I just woke up, fed myself, put my clothes on, and walked into church. I didn't have that responsibility. And so therefore there's some freedom in that too. I think too, just finding people that in church and out of church that see your value as a person, okay, not as in so-and-so's wife or so-and-so's mom. And I think that's also a heart thing on the other person too, is like knowing that you're valuable just because you're God's child. And okay. And I think too, again, on the flip side, because I always want to take responsibility for my thinking, is knowing that like no matter how that person sees me, my worth is in Christ. And like I'm not valued because I'm so-and-so's wife, I'm so-and-so's mother, I'm this at the PTO, know. So I've had both experiences, but also on my end, taking responsibility, my thought process has had to change, and the Lord's had to grow me in that too.
Okay. So if there was something that you might share with a pastor or someone who's watching this who has some influence in church decisions to better minister or relate to single young women, what would you share with them?
Oh, that's a great one. I would say definitely opening up the conversation about singleness. I think that sometimes I get it. I say I get it. I don't get it. I'm not there. I could empathize that marriage is hard. I can see that with my own two eyes, and married people can tell me that. But I think oftentimes we pray for marriages and we pray for this, and I value that 100%. I'm so behind it, and there's a lot of married friends that I pray for their marriage, and but I think just opening people's eyes to, like, there are single seasons for people that are real tough.
Okay.
And it's real tough to sit in church. I kind of sit in the back of churches I visit. I sit in the back. We joke, my family, we're back row Baptist. So,
okay.
but I see, like, all the hand holding and all the, like, snuggling, and that's silly. It's church, you're married, you can do what you want, but it does cause something in me sometimes to stir up. So I think just acknowledging that there are people that come to that church and sit by themselves alone. And while for some people that's no big deal, but for others it is.
Okay.
When I moved to Texas, I was visiting churches in Lago with my close family friends, and it was great. But then I knew I needed to branch out and find my own church, and it took every ounce of strength to walk into a church by myself and sit down, just because of the, like, stigmas I felt, or just that, like, okay, like, I'm actually alone in this church of 1,200 people, and no one knows my name. I'm just some rando that walked in, you know.
Okay.
So I think opening a conversation about it. I think one of the best things my mentor ever did for me, she got married very young. She was like 22. And we were having a conversation about singleness. And I think people, because they're single for like a couple years, kind of feel like they understand singleness, which I think, you know, yeah, I think you definitely did understand singleness as an 18, 19, and 20-year-old, 22-year-old, or 21-year-old, and then you got married when you were 22. But it's different being single and 30. That's a whole nother ballgame, for me, at least. And we were having a conversation, and she looked me in my eyes, Sean, and she said, you know, I don't know what that's like. She's like, and at the time I was 28. She's like, I don't know what it was like to be single at 28, because I wasn't. And that changed my trust for her in conversations about marriage. I exponentially grew, because she just acknowledged that she wasn't sure what it was like to try to be dating at 28 and try to be living a godly single life at 28, because it's much different than being 18, 19, and 20 for me.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that was, I mean, it's just more so like just even like an acknowledgement that I think would help.
Okay. As you were speaking, I want to let you know I'm proud of you for being a teacher.
Thanks.
I'm proud of you for sharing. And then what came to my mind when you were speaking, that you're doing well.
Thanks.
You're doing well.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So what I try to do in the interviews, because if I ask questions, I want to turn that around.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that you'd like to ask me?
Oh man. What is it like for you as a single man to sit in church?
Honestly, I'm all right. I'm paying attention to the pastor and the message. So as far as a single man in church, it hasn't really hit me, since I've never been married, and I haven't per se attended church with a woman since having a relationship with Christ. I'm there for the message, so it's all good to me.
That's good.
Okay. Anything else?
What does it look like for you pursuing Christ in the latter part of your life rather than like in your 30s?
It looks like nothing that I could ever conceive in my mind. When I was younger and I considered a relationship with God, the first thoughts that came to me were, I'm going to be bored. I'm going to be miserable. I'm going to miss out on all the fun. Well, when I accepted Christ, something occurred in me that no one had ever explained, that my likes, my dislikes, my passions, he would slowly change that. And so what that has looked like later on in life is I'm not necessarily caught up in just having fun. Meaning I go out, I socialize, I have great conversations with friends like you, but it's not a driving force like when I was younger. It's not like, man, we got to have music, we got to have this, we got to have that, and everything's going on. It's like I can sit here, whether we're on the camera or not, and just have a great conversation with you and not only feel fulfilled, but be satisfied in my day. And so I would, if I had one word to summarize it, contentment. It looks like contentment versus me striving to be something the pastor says or something I've read in the Bible. I've learned more to allow God to work in me to become rather than me work and try to be.
Sure. That's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you'd like to share that you think might help someone?
Yeah. I would share specifically just based off the questions about like singleness and church, because I don't want to sound at all like a bitter woman, because the Lord is faithful to me and I see him show up every day, and I've asked the Lord to make me quick to see him in his provision, because I think I quantified or qualified the goodness of God as just marriage and kids, because it's kind of what we're taught, which again, I don't think is wrong. And obviously I very much want that. But I just think in that, I would say the Lord has been faithful to show me his goodness in other ways, and has allowed me to walk a very full life in singleness. It just took a while, kind of like, if we want to get Old Testament, like a circumcision of the heart, for me to see with clear eyes what he's doing. And I still can't see the future. Obviously, I still really long for marriage, and I still really long for kids, but I have to look at that through the perspective of God's timing, and his goodness shows up in different ways for other people. And so right now, I really have learned that like what was sitting on the throne of my heart was marriage. And for me, in a relationship, not just marriage, but like a significant other, someone to help me and take care of me and all the things. But when Christ just sits on the throne of your heart, there's no room for that. And so it's taken a lot of like perspective change and a lot of growth to walk in that. But I think as a single 30-year-old woman who loves Jesus, I'm so blessed, and I'm so thankful he hasn't given me that yet. And I can't even believe I'm saying those words, because I've begged so much for like a relationship and all these things. But what the Lord is showing me, that good for Bailey Adkins right now isn't marriage or kids, and yet good for me has showed up in little packages along the way. And I get to walk in that. So while I might fight sadness or just like discontentment, or even that idol of what I think my life should look like, he's been super faithful and allowed me to experience things that a lot of my married friends haven't. So I just want to make sure I don't sound like a bitter lady, because I'm not. I'm so blessed, but it's just definitely a hardship I've worked through, and I know that I'm not the only single lady that has felt this way.
So tell me about your running hobby briefly.
Yes. Okay. So I've recently, in the last couple months, picked up running, and actually, what's cool, like that's such a great follow-up question, Sean, because that's honestly where God has been showing me himself. Like, and I feel silly, but I don't want to diminish God's blessing as like small or silly, because we all know he cares about the minute things of our lives.
That's right.
So like probably 2 months ago, I started running with a friend, and I noticed like just so many benefits to my health. Like, I was losing a little weight, I was toning up, I felt better. So then I kind of started doing it more on my own. Well, I have this very athletic friend, and she's like, oh no, you're not gonna run without me. We're gonna do this together. So we kind of have a standing Tuesday, Thursday running appointment. And I love it. And then, hush me up if I'm going
You're
too
okay,
long.
come on.
And then, so anyhow, within that, like we started, like we could only run to this like one cul-de-sac. And I was huffing, like puffing. It was bad. So then we got to where we could run a little further, and we could run a little further, and then we got to where we were like running our whole thing.
Okay.
And that, like, I am competitive. So for me, I'm competitive with myself. I'm competitive with my first graders at school. I do not let a first grader win.
Okay.
So I love that, and it just brought some joy. And obviously, too, science tells us our endorphins and all the good things. So anyway, that started, and then I started running with another group of friends on Saturdays. Only we would do long runs, and so awesome. But I'm 30 now,
Okay.
and my feet hurt, and so I've learned like I gotta wear comfy shoes. I can't wear cute teacher shoes like I did when I was like 20.
Okay.
So again, just to kind of show God's blessing and how He's good, I needed comfy shoes for school. But again, I mentioned teachers' pay. It's you
Okay.
gotta work yourself to stretch that budget. But
Okay.
my friend saw these pair of tennis shoes, and she's like, Bailey, I got you these shoes. They just look like you. You gotta have them. And I offered to pay for them. She's like, no, it's a gift.
Cool.
And I'm telling you, like, I saw God in that. I saw God being like, look, you need these, I got you. And then, like, honestly, I'm not kidding, within the same week, I needed new insoles for my other shoes. And my friend was like, hey, I got these insoles. They're too small. You just have them. I was like, okay, God, I see you. Like He had me.
Okay.
And that stuff's not cheap. So then I was like, okay, now I need new running shoes. And that's really not cheap. My vice principal hands me a coupon for $20 off the store I was shopping at. And so within this running hobby and challenge, it's very much challenged me. The Lord has been like, I have you and I'm giving you this. And so it's been cool because I just wanted to lose some weight and run with my friend. But the Lord has turned this into something bigger for me. And again, not an idol. I don't think about running. I don't dream about it, but it's good for me. And the Lord is allowing me to see His blessing within it. And I'm actually signed up for a half marathon in January.
Congratulations.
And so I'm training for that. And the Lord has just provided every step of the way.
Okay.
So.
Okay. So in the vein of your competitiveness and being a second grade school teacher, do you know this game right here?
Oh no, where you slap
I'm
the
not going to
hands.
do it hard. You're a lady.
Listen.
And your nails
listen,
are done. I'm not going to do it hard.
Listen.
Okay.
This,
You okay?
This is like the like
Come
Jack
this
in the
way a little
Box
bit.
thing.
Come this
I
way a
don't
little
know if this is good for me.
Okay.
See, okay, now I wasn't ready. You didn't say like
Come
1,
this
2,
way a
3,
little
go.
bit.
You didn't
Okay.
say.
Okay.
You gotta say.
Okay, I'll do it.
You gotta do the
Okay.
rules.
Okay, go.
Oh,
Oh.
see, I'm not good.
Oh.
I'm not good. Can you take this out of the interview? I don't want this in the interview. I don't like losing.
No.
Listen.
Thank you, Bailey.
We needed
But you
the
can say
rules.
something. We need to. Okay. I didn't tell her that, and then I turned my hands over and said, "Would you like a rewind before we go?"
I don't want to rewind. I just want that out of the interview.